I think that a professional team like LZIM is going to really punish them for those mistakes. And I think that LZIM, sure, they picked the Lux at the end of the season. They did look like they were just having a bit of fun to end things out. But I think realistically, IM in the second round robin, after they picked up Expression, once twosn got his feet underneath him as a jungler, was looking stronger.
And look, I have high hopes for this series, Monte Cristo. Back in 2012, I was casting NLB games, and I remember a brash young team facing up against CJ Entis in a final. Of course, that was GSG, which went on to spawn many famous players, ended with a very famous jungle Heimerdinger game. These professional team versus challenge team matchups can go in some interesting directions. So I'm optimistic that we're going to see at least these teams bring out the crazy this series.
Yeah, I hope we do. And I hope we see some Lucian and some aggressive laning play. I was impressed by Chelly's performance on that champion. And when they play for the laning phase, when we see the picks like Lucian and Lee Sin come out of Dark Wolves, it seems like that's their biggest ticket to success. Fiora ban against Expression, I am not surprised to see that in the least.
And speaking of expected bans, Kyle's Azir really did impress me. Azir was a very high priority for him, and for both teams actually, Ever and Dark Wolves in that final. So expected ban still on patch 5.15. Where will the first pick go? Will we just see an extension of the recent meta? Will Malphite actually play a factor in this series? Another question. Expression, going to be no stranger to the Malphite. You talked about aggressive bot laners. Expression, when he's actually got ahead in lane, has looked pretty impressive. Even on champions like Jax that are still on the fringes of the meta, Expression will overextend, and he has been a common gank target for the enemy team.
That's true, but we'll see if Dark Wolves can respond to that, because like I said, they do seem to put a priority on that bottom duo lane when it comes to jungler attention. At least we'll be the first pick for twosn. And it's been a while since we've seen twosn's jungling. It's nice to see IM again in the mix, and we'll see how far they have developed and if they can actually take a clean series here against Dark Wolves, as most people anticipate. Nidalee the hover right now. Be surprised if it was that pick instead of the Lee Sin, though.
Nidalee Maokai would make a bit of sense. That's definitely been the duo that really opens up top lane as an excellent gank target for the Nidalee. Of course, targeted CC into that max range spear, even with the spear nerfs, is still very, very strong. But of course, teams put a very high priority onto Braum, so wouldn't be a surprise to see that taken away. We haven't seen much IM winning Monte Cristo in a long time. The last time they won actually was running Spooky in the lineup against Spenu, I believe. So I agree, twosn has impressed on its re-entry to the team, but maybe this is the five-man lineup that gets them through Challenger at least. We're not going to see the Mordekaiser.
No, it is 5:15, guys, so no Mordekaiser here. However, the Braum pick, Dark Wolves, their specialty is those poke comps. So Gangplank and Ashe will be selected. They really like to run Varus, Ezreal, combos like that to maximize their poke damage and play around objectives that way. So taking a bit of disengage right here, but the Ashe and the Elise taken for some early pick potential from IM.
So watching that final against Ever is a team that loves to play protect the comp. So Jugger more. They actually run a Jugger Ashe in the first match of the Challengers League 1 final. Dark Wolves responded. If you're against a team running very low backline threat, you can get away with the Varus if he's not going to be smashed by the likes of a Hecarim. So given Cube's preference for the Hecarim, will we see Hecarim in this particular game? Because with the Ashe locked in, with Gangplank, who's basically a backline fighter, wants to poke around with his barrels, you need some engage from Dark Wolves, and you're not going to get it from Rek'Sai.
Well, here's the interesting aspect, though, is that if they do pick the Hecarim, if the Gangplank goes top, and with a player like Expression, I think we can expect that that's where it's going, and it will be the Jace. I'm excited to see it. Kyle's signature champion.
Yeah, not Kyle. Kyle, and of course, was actually previously on Virtual Throne Gaming before he went over to America, so a very long association with this organization, and signature champion. Comfort is a good way to go in Game 1. You know, some teams, they either throw all the pins at the board and go for the crazy strat in Game 1, or you go for the comfort and try and get your bearings in what is their first visit to this big Yongsan Esports Stadium in a big match for their future.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's going to be a pleasure regardless. I'm glad Kyle going back to his pocket pick right now. Frozen likes to play poke champions too, but he may be going for the Diana a little bit more all in onto this Jace.
Double teleport, global on the Ashe ultimate, high pressure around double globals. Of course, Gangplank has a global ultimate as well, so long as IM can show up in multiple lanes at the same time, very low magic damage, but with the teleport ignite, I think it's Hecarim time, Monte Cristo. I guess it could be the Fizz as well, but need to find magic damage
could be the
from somewhere.
Rengar.
So Rengar, just to give our viewers context, Rengar is the chosen. Now, Q played a lot of Hecarim. Ever first picked away Hecarim. Already a crazy thing to say on patch 5.15. And Cube's answer was teleport ignite Rengar. Now, it didn't win them the game, but given all his confidence in the matchup, he clearly must know something about it. It was a tank Rengar, even from this. Not Trace full damage Rengar from a couple of years ago. This was Sunfire Cape into what, Spirit Visage or something along those lines. Where are they going to go with this last pick? Are they going to pigeonhole themselves purely on physical damage? Or maybe just get the slightest of base damages from the Maokai?
I think you go this direction, honestly, Papa Smithy, but they may go for that Malphite. They would have some hard engage in that case, but looks like the Hecarim will be the pick, but there's not going to be much to stop the Gangplank from farming in the top lane. Both of those champions like to sit back, pick up some items, and honestly, Gangplank is probably the better late game carry at this point in time.
I think the Hecarim's kind of necessary, though, to get on top of the Ashe. They definitely did something with backline threat. I agree that this is a farm lane that, of course, the income advantage is always going to be with Gangplank, probably even going to pick up an Avarice Blade to be getting 10 gold on every last hit. Big worry for me. You get in fairly melee range as Hecarim trying to pick up CS, you are opening yourself up to a lot of barrel harass, and I expect low health values for Hecarim across this laning phase.
Yeah, could be quite dangerous, too. The Elise there to provide some crowd control on the gank, so Q may have a tough time staying alive. And they do take the Lucian in the bottom lane. I'm really happy to see this. I think that Chelly and Jelly do very well with the Lucian in the laning phase. They can put down a lot of that pressure. See how Frozen handles the Jace. Frozen, a big-time poke player himself. Of course, spent a lot of the season on long-range control mages. His Varus particularly impressive. And the Yasuo was flashed here, and Yasuo was banned for a lot of the finals against Dark Wolves, so it's something that the teams take very seriously when they're playing up against this challenger team. Nobody likes Dark Wolves, apparently. Oh!
Some people do.
Dark Wolves fighting. All right, so we are in our first game of promotions here in Korea. 2 days of promotions, and it will be between LZ Incredible Miracle and Dark Wolves fighting for a spot in Champions Spring next year.
So Monte Cristo, you watched a lot of regular season matches of League of Legends in 2015. I don't know if we've seen a Jace win post-Jace rework. I think the answer is no.
In Korea, that is.
That's correct.
That is true. We saw Coco try it and not do quite so well with it. It was popular briefly in some of the Western regions and in China, but it never really took root here in Korea, which is surprising because you'd think that it would be a little bit better, a little bit smoother of a power curve into the late game. But he's still quite vulnerable.
Incredible Miracle fans. Probably don't need a Miracle today. They come in as favorites, so we might have to revise that statement if they fall behind in this series, but they should be pretty confident. And I feel like one of the reasons that a champion like Jace has a very strong laning phase, lots of chip damage, strong poke and burst, struggles is that now things like teleport mid laners come in, and even champions like Diana, who doesn't have a strong levels 1 to 5, is very tanky, is hard to pin down, but is still a melee champion wave clearing. The fact that you can take the teleport, the fact that there's not a lot of kill pressure onto her, means that even if you get chipped out, just go back to base, come back, your turret will not fall down. If you're against, say, a Diana with Ignite, if she ever makes a mistake, force her out of lane, you can take that turret so damn fast if you're the Jace. But when you got the teleport, that threat's not there.
Yeah, definitely true. And the other aspect of the teleport, too, is that when we have, I totally agree with LZIM's focus in this game. Go for as many globals as possible. If you're playing against a team that doesn't have the same level of communication or teamwork or map sense that you do, you could just 1-3-1 split push them or surprise them when they go overly aggressive. It's a great tool to deal with teams that tunnel on kills and over pursue, and we definitely know that Dark Wolves is one of those teams.
And that's what we saw. You know, we liken them to some LPL teams, specifically spring season LPL teams, where it was super bloodthirsty times in that league. And you're right, pressure the macro game, because the micro game, I mean, in general, Korean micro skills, Korean play, I mean, I'm playing at Gold 5 at the moment on a new account, and the Lee Sin kicks are coming in fast and furious. The insect players are there. The mechanical skills are there. But macro play is something that requires just a whole different ballgame. It's why scrims are so different from solo queues. So much more communication required, and a big test for Dark Wolves in Game 1.
Yeah, honestly, I'm surprised IM didn't lane swap too, because that's another fast way to take down some of the less experienced teams, is to start putting them in complex lane swap situations. Can give established teams a pretty substantial edge, but not going to get it this game. However, they still will have that pretty good matchup with Gangplank versus Hecarim in the top side, and this game could come down to that split pushing, because LZIM, their siege is pretty bad.
So Tucson is coming in thick and fast. Dark Wolves, as expected, are pushed in bottom, pushed in mid as well. Tucson has lots of gank opportunities this game.
Very predictable gank, though. 3.5 minutes coming through. So how careful are Dark Wolves going to be right here? Tucson, yeah, Dark Wolves smelling something right now. They don't want to get flash pulved. And there you go. Oops, already going to miss that cocoon, but they're still going to get the first blood onto Sunstar.
The burst is still there, Monte Cristo. With the headbutt, enough displacement. That 700 units did the job. And we can see in the top lane, Rek'Sai is spotted out. So Dark Wolves like to play aggressive. I credit them for still having the confidence to do that in Champions. But when your warding's off, and speaking of warding,
Tucson just going to waltz into the mid lane right here. Force Kyle out with a spider. Especially pushed back a little bit, but he has his safety keg. I wish I had a safety keg.
Yeah, safety blankets are often a thing. Safety kegs is something different. Sounds like a college student's best friend, the safety keg.
I wish I had those in college, Baba.
Definitely the tonic for a good Friday night, a safety keg.
You know, your party's still going and you run out of beer, well, that's why you have the safety keg.
Yeah, keep it to the side, out of vision, so no one can see it.
Yeah, you have to break it out only in case of emergencies.
That's what Gangplank does. GBM was doing the same thing, hiding it towards the side of the lane when we saw his very impressive mid-lane Gangplank, so. Especially on the carry chat. It's exciting to see.
Yep, good times. Well, Frozen still suffering from some poke, and here we go. Dive coming through. Chelly all by himself. Volley will miss. Cocoon will miss it. Nice flash on the headbutt.
It's the mechanical skills we talked about. Tucson falls super low, but no real kill threat coming through without an aggressive flash, and he just used his defensively. This is what we talked about in the mid lane. Frozen hasn't used his teleport, but is struggling, and just the reality of a ranged versus melee matchup, and Jace taking the turret is kind of what he wants to do. He really wants to open up this mid lane, but so much harder to do now that teleport meta has really hit the mid.
Yeah, and Frozen is falling back, but he has plenty of sustain with the flask and the biscuits. Still going to take quite a chunk, though, and he has been struggling farming. It's been left high and dry as Tucson just repeatedly ganks that bottom lane.
But again, that's only possible because of Summoner Teleport. That's one of the, if there was no Summoner Teleport mid-game meta, you would have to gank this lane to relieve pressure. But the fact that once he runs out of flask charges, he can just go back, fill up on that, get some more potions, get some combat stats from the likes of a couple of Doran rings. This is what Teleport does, and now Tucson's trying to relieve that pressure that we spoke about. It's one of those situations where people would always take Teleport if you could get away with it, if you didn't need the Ignite for lane control. If you can take a global and still have some semblance of lane control, you are just so damn happy.
Yeah, makes so many different plays possible. Teleport, probably the strongest summoner spell in the game. It's just how do you get away with it without dying in lane?
Be Diana with crazy base stats, shield, damage, all-in potential without Ignite. Again, you have to be able to get away with it. So either you're Lulu and you just clear waves and you're relieving pressure with your teleport, or you're a champion like Diana that just is crazy.
Indeed. Well, the top lane has been pretty boring without any jungle pressure up there so far. Scuttlecrab now taken by Tucson. Prevavi did see that pink ward goes down, so he comes mid to clear it out, and there's the TP coming in from Frozen already.
He's felt pressured enough to go for the Seeker's Arm Guard, so can't go towards the National's Tooth. Of course, split pushing is another big upside of the Summoner Teleport, and that's at least going to be delayed, because you definitely need at least the Stinger to really be relevant in a split push situation.
Yeah, that said, in the late game, though, there isn't going to be anybody who can stop a 1-3-1. They got Hecarim, but they can't stop the Diana at the same time.
So there's safety kegs and there's hidden kegs. This is just for another day when you're just like, okay, this keg needs to last me to Thursday, so I'm going to hide in a bush. And
Yeah, the surprise keg.
surprise keg.
The surprise kegs are nice, though. You know, you put them there for your friends and make sure that they have, you know, a little bit of a Christmas present.
I feel like it's a grown-up version of the Easter Bunny. The surprise kegs.
I would love
You go on a keg hunt?
I would love to have a keg hunt sometime with you, Papa Smithy. Let's do it.
We could go keg hunting on the weekend, you know. There's some great beers in our area.
Gotta hide them, though,
That's true.
in the brushes.
There's the trade damage we're talking about. Not much to speak about, but let's talk about Free Farm Wars, Gangplank versus Hecarim. GBM has shown us what you can do in the late game. Remember, this is 515. The live values is 50% armor penetration for those kegs. It's still 60% in this patch, so we were seeing full tanks taking roughly 1,100 damage from AoEs. The famous China clip that we saw from IG basically exploding their enemies with the keg. There is crazy damage potential, but still, Hecarim is a necessary evil for Direwolves to control Ashe. So if Hecarim is dealing with Ashe, maybe you're okay with the CS trade. I know you can be skeptical, but it is necessary.
I'm very skeptical about this, Smithy. I do agree that they have to have some way to deal with Ashe. I'm just not sure that Hecarim is necessarily the solution.
What's the solution then? 515.
Malphite could have taken Malphite here. Something that could be a little bit tankier, a little bit more immediately useful. Cube going to go in right now, especially going to pop his ultimate, flash right into it, ignite down on him, but no successful gank. He gets out.
It was actually really nice mechanics to get the E backwards into the oncoming Rek'Sai, force out the flash. That was nice Hecarim, as expected from Cube. This guy has played a lot of Hecarim in competitive. CS lead is non-existent though, and obviously they're both going to be building the same way, both looking for the Trinity Force Rush.
But that Gangplank just so much scarier in the late game. Certainly Hecarim no slouch, but GP could present a threat that they don't really have the tools to deal with, especially actually going to go for an Avarice Blade here, so it's Bankplank all the way. And, you know, at a certain point, why wouldn't you? That Hecarim just no Ignite anymore, no Ultimate. You're going to have time.
But there is a response to that purchase. If you walk into lane as Cube and you see Avarice Blade, okay, firstly it's disrespectful. You're buying a GP10 item that doesn't really present any relevant laning stats, but Gangplank a little bit more than most is Kyle.
Tucson going to come in, and they're going to have to fall back. And we see the TP moving in right now. Great pull from
ultimate.
Ignar, just shut that one down. And there's the ult pop from Ignar. He is not going to die. Everybody from Dark Wolves in the mid lane, 5-man, but they can't make it work.
Yeah, Cube's the only one that has an initiation ultimate, and of course didn't have it set up. Speaking of being set up, there's one of those. That's awkward.
Cube, the bait there, having that ward in the brush, so not going to land the parlay keg.
So that was a surprise keg misfire. That's when you want to put down a surprise keg. Speaking of surprise.
And surprise, Kyle! There's an Ashe Arrow, there's a flash, and there's a dead Jace eventually. It's going to fall down right there. Frozen getting low, and he's actually going to get traded, but they're going to get Curvavy. So 2 for 1. Tucson picks that one up. They delayed Frozen enough, but Frozen got that kill and a great Ashe Arrow to set up a 2-second stun.
Pre-season 1 strategies, Monte Cristo. Shoot that arrow from spawn. If it hits, 3.5-second stun will do it. Speaking of stuns, Expression super low Cube. Can he Cube knight it out? He can. Can't. And it's a 1 for 1.
Yeah, he can, but there's that problem. You know, Cube loves to trade kills with Hecarim. He will just all-in you all the time.
And in the tank meta, that's probably okay, but against a Gangplank, that's not ideal.
No, it's not. If you have that top lane carry, the items become so valuable on a champion like Gangplank. It doesn't make a lot of sense. He is going to deny a little bit of CS here, so I suppose there is that upside to it, but still, when you don't even have that Ignite down, a little bit risky, but perhaps wanting to make Expression pay for that Avarice Blade purchase.
Both teams going for 1-for-1 turret dives, not ideal. Of course, it evolved into a 2-for-1 because there was support from Tucson in the mid lane, but some trademark aggression from the Dark Wolves, but some surprising aggression from Longzhuaya.
Yeah, they really wanted to go for that kill onto the Jace. Frozen building towards Zhonya's Hourglass first, so will be his first major purchase. And it looks like the double Avarice coming out, actually, so Expression and Sonstar getting greedy now. This means that they're going to hit a power spike sooner, but in a bit of a trough right now. And it's sometimes rough, just like with 2 tiers, to get away with 2 Avarice Blades. It kind of means you can't really fight for mid-game dragons effectively.
The general thought process behind the Avarice Blade is delayed first item, but faster 2-item spike. Static Shiv is already cheaper, and then you're getting that extra gold that effectively makes the cost lower. So you're really powering later, but faster, if you know what I mean. So the first, and the reason why more recently, or in the second half of the season, we're seeing more of this is that, of course, with the Infinity Edge nerf, the rush of that item is just less profitable. You're not getting that extra critical strike. When you finish that item, it's kind of debatable whether, say, BF Sword Pickaxe Berserker Greaves is stronger or less strong than just an Infinity Edge rush. So players are really finding creative ways to get over that recipe purchase, as Tucson being punished for starting this dragon early.
Thought he might be able to solo it right there, but with the blue buff up and the Dark Wolves members around that dragon pit already, he will be found out and stopped from taking that objective. Of course, they do have the advantage in that they have that Gangplank ult. And Tucson, oldest trick in the book, there's an arrow to follow it up, and hello, a ton of CC. Sonstar gets the kill in the end. Now, Jelly and Kerbaby still around, but that damage coming through. Here comes Frozen from the side. Heckram's made his way down to the bottom jungle, but it's not going to be, barely enough actually to save Jelly, but they take 1. And Kyle, you can't walk there. They know your blue buff is up, and unless you have vision for sure. Ignar still mixing it up, straight to a cocoon, and there comes Frozen. Alistair ult popped, and that's going to force the flash out of Chelly too. Frozen probably doesn't want to go in on that one, and instead he's going to do a little bit of a dive, take some more kills, and Expression's left to his own devices in the mid lane. Teleport coming through from Diana.
Let's talk about the pre-game chat. You were talking about the fact that these extra teleports really put the macro screws onto a Dark Wolves team that's really sailed through Challenger. Rotations was the big story there. Chelly stayed in lane the longest time. There was a big skirmish. He didn't even respond at that point, and his team really paid the price. And you're just seeing, even without using the globals, what pressure a pro team like IM can put on these challengers from Dark Wolves.
Well, Chelly probably didn't want to go in because he actually is behind in items right now. Now, they could take a dragon in response. Looks like they will get number 1, but that's not going to be of too much concern considering the gold lead that IM has developed already. The fact that they did go for the double Avarice Blades. They're not really looking to contest in a 5v5 right now. They take the advantage they have with the quick kill onto Kyle's Jace and then move from there.
And it is a 14-minute first dragon, so we're talking about a very late 5th dragon rush. And as you mentioned, with the fact that the 2-item spikes are going to hit earlier because of the double Avarice Blade, by the time we're talking about the 3rd dragon, maybe even the 2nd, but predictably the 3rd dragon, the item time is just going to be there for IM with the immediate gold from the kills and the investment approach of the double Avarice to ensure that a 5th dragon win condition, very unlikely from the Dark Wolves.
Absolutely, and they are going to find out Kerbaby there from the Dark Wolves with the Hawk Shot. Tons of wards into the Dark Wolves jungle so far, and there's a turret going down in favor of Longzhu IM. Expression getting low, has that Ignite used on him, but the ult is going to miss, and he's just going to stand at attention and head back to base.
It's worrying that with Trinity Force and an Ignite, can't deal the Gangplank, who is still really just investment banking with the Avarice Blade and overextending to take the turret. So couldn't punish that, and now the Triforce is hit, and it only gets scarier here from Gangplank.
They did force the flash, but meanwhile, Tucson on a solo mission to delay Kyle. Frozen has to go out and help out his buddy. You do see the Crescent Strike hitting, and where are they going to go for it? Yeah, Frozen going to get it knocked in. And here we go, Ignar there. Ash Arrow going to miss, a little bit odd. And Frozen will pay for it in the end, but here comes Expression. He has teleported into this fight, and there are the chunks coming down. And here comes the Pirate cleanup crew. And he's going to get one parlay here for sure. Goodbye.
Long-range snipe parlay, and your favorite champion's doing things here, Monte Cristo. Gangplank's going off, and it's pretty predictable.
Yeah, here we go, trying to zone out Cube. They want to dive this. There's the flash, and of course the cocoon right afterwards, and Expression with another kill. Now 4-1-2, and who is going to stop the Gangplank now?
You could tell with the Zhonya's rush that IM were looking to play a skirmish game. They're looking to fight because he didn't prioritize the Stinger until second item, building for team fights. It's much like with Twisted Fate. If you see the Zhonyas, it's team fight time. If you see the Nashor's Tooth, it's very much going to be the split pushing game, but they're looking for the fights and they're consistently finding them. Just watch how long Dark Wolves have to fight on this Gangplank ultimate.
Yeah, and they also not respecting the Gangplank ult coming through. Not really sure what happened to that arrow there, just a little bit wide. But Expression here cleaning up with a lot of these kegs. Great triple keg chain right there into the kill. Jelly not going to get out before that parlay is in range and he triggers the missile.
IM are playing exactly the game they want. They're getting in aggressive wards. They have double teleport. They have double globals as well. Dark Wolves just can't take these skirmishes, but if they don't, they're losing resources on their jungler, on their top lane. They're getting pushed in. The pressure game from IM is what is separating these two teams.
Yeah. Well, incredible miracle with this kind of lead right now, and the fact that their split pushers have gotten rolling and the Jace has been delayed means that they have a lot of freedom when it comes to that 1-3-1 right now, and Dark Wolves simply don't have a good way to stop it. And there we go, Jelly going to get nailed by the Ash Arrow, but gets the Unbreakable up in time.
Take any damage. That cooldown's down, but they just have no pressure on the map. Their jungle's been invaded. They've been losing skirmishes left, right, and center, and they're going to lose their mid turret.
Hey, Ignar going in, and there goes Kyle, just exploded by a keg, and the Gangplank ultimate coming through right afterwards. Curvavy will fall for a double kill for Expression, who is absolutely taking over this game. And the Sheen from Expression and all that damage going to mean that another turret goes down, and that is 2 in the mid lane taken consecutively. Are they going to get 3 right here at 18 minutes?
Yeah, they're just really trying to round out this game. The culling is channeled. It's doing decent damage. They're not going to quite take the turret just yet, but they're going for it.
Yeah, have another wave there and ready. And they're going to take it. They're going to take an 18-minute inhibitor right here. Dark Wolves are going to be bottled up in their own base. And that's going to be about it. So huge control, perhaps even a 20-minute Baron coming here from LCIM. And there you go.
Nope.
Tucson trying to get out. He just has to go over to Cube right now. Frozen once again into it. Ignar trying to delay. They do lose Tucson, but here comes Frozen into the back line, over-committing for this. They have so much money they just haven't spent yet from 3 turrets.
Yeah, they're 8,000 gold ahead, but a lot of that's in the bank, like you mentioned. And then just re-engaging. Remember, because they're over-leveled, because they've been doing so well, they're passing on both shutdown gold and that extra experience, and they're giving a window in that was utterly unnecessary. Remember, they'd already got the inhibitor at 18 minutes, and yet they're still re-engaging.
Well, we'll see how much it actually matters. Take a look at this big-time tower dive. I mean, Ignar's been playing great this game.
Ignar's been playing great this season. He has been the shining star of the lineup next to Frozen. No surprise that these are the 2 stalwarts of the lineup. Gangplank ult slows everyone down, and just the fast push from there. It's crazy to think that the team with Jace is getting fast pushed on by Ashe Diana, but that's the reality of this game.
The GP has been doing some good work in terms of putting kegs up to zone out Dark Wolves and dragging up in 30 seconds, but we'll see how the members of IM want to respond. They certainly could just put on a full press right now. They have the wards to potentially set up for that Baron. Ignar already threatening it.
Really seeing a champion like Hecarim exposed a bit this game. He's doing fine in farm. He's 14 CS up, and his score is fine, but in a meta where everyone was playing top lane tanks with teleport and smite, Hecarim was fine. He was actually unique in that you could actually build the Trinity Force and be a damage threat in the late game where every other tank was just super tanky and just with a bit of CC. Now in this meta, it feels a bit like Sejuani, where Sejuani had her time in the sun, saw a couple of nerfs, and then people realized the late game trade-off just wasn't really there with how weak the early game is. Now that you can even run carry champions in the top that can smash him in lane, like a Riven, for example, or can just out-farm him and out-teamfight him in Gangplank, just doesn't really feel like a meta where Hecarim can make a big impact.
Right, and you also have to look at the fact that in a split push situation, he is so far away from getting any form of armor that is going to allow him to even do much of anything at all against Gangplank.
Yeah, I mean, Gangplank's most of the way to an Infinity Edge, and that's with the already the Berserker Greaves on top, so scary thought. It's Cube, I mean, he's just trying to take out wards, but he can't even do that with his pink, and at this point, Dark Wolves, they have control of maybe the minions hitting their base, but apart from that, everything is a bridge too far, and the gold lead's only going to increase for Longzhou IM.
Yeah, and with both TPs up, they certainly can just go ahead and start pushing like they are doing, and the 1-3-1 right now, that is going to be their best option if they don't want to immediately threaten a Baron. But if Frozen sees more than one person bottom side, he should just TP to Baron immediately and take that objective. And then they can put their final push on without having to be so concerned with their relatively poor siege with this composition. That Expression just getting a million free hits at the tower because Hecarim's in bottom.
just one of those crazy games. If you have the win condition checklist for Longzhu IM, everything will be checked. They have 2 split pushes that will vastly outmatch anyone that is sent against them. Double globals, even just assist globals in the likes of the Ashe ultimate and the Gangplank ult. Their carries are ahead in items. They're winning fights and skirmishes. Everything is going right for Longzhu IM, and except for the arrows. They've been wide a couple of times.
Yeah, they've also been from base and scored some kills, so I'm willing to give Zonstar a bit of a pass here. And are we going to see now, with that super minion wave pushing, an attempt at the Baron? No direct vision for Dark Wolves on that objective, and Frozen already set up here to possibly teleport in. They haven't cleared out that brush, though, so standing in a ward at the moment.
Sloppy play from Longzhu. Uncharacteristic of their first 22 minutes.
And there we go. Finally figured it out there.
For a second there, they were standing in the ward, and I thought it was Disco Lights Gangplank, just chilling out.
Disco Plank.
Well, I mean, Disco Nunu's been in this talk because of all the NA pros playing solo queue, and you see the Nunu locked in with the, I believe it's Clairvoyance Clarity,
Yeah.
and you get a sweeper and you dance.
Yep.
Dance in the disco lights of the sweeper.
I don't know where that came from.
It's really funny. Also, the troll champions change meta to meta, Monte Cristo. Not much Nunu these days.
All right, so wards directly on the Baron now. LZIM definitely not doing a great job of closing this one out. It's been 5 minutes since they took that inhibitor, and they haven't applied really much pressure at all to that Baron. And they can just do it right now pretty easily.
That sounds like a slogan. You should use that one for Renegades. Just do it.
I think I might be sued. I think I might be sued there, Papa Smith.
Oh. It's not a League of Legends term? No?
They're going to methodically clear out these vision wards. Of course, they could get a pick here. That would make things a lot easier for them. But in the meantime, Diana has to be split pushing.
I guess one point you could make is that their pick is when a team is playing as defensively, where at least Cocoon is not really a reliable initiate when the team's basically playing on the back foot. It's only Ashe Arrow, and Sunstar's been looking for them, but
They have Alistair too, so they can definitely initiate team fights.
sure, but with how defensive this enemy team is playing, it's Flash Pulve or nothing for Longzhu with this Ashe Arrow down.
Try and push in right now towards the inhibitor once again. Has respawned in that mid lane. There we go, just some keg zoning. Just waiting to see how far this inhibitor will be whittled down in the mid lane. Dark Wolf's going to have to actually engage at some point here if they want to save this. Ignar is going to push Cube back, but this might be the timing they're looking for. No more headbutt and a great culling, chunking out the members, and they're going to buy some more time to get that poke down.
The keg did 3/4 of Chelly's life, though. He has to go on back. That's enough pressure that IM will pick up this inhibitor, but can they actually translate it into a Baron? Because the answer so far has been no.
Well, they are going to find some more wards right here, and they are reluctant in case they get poked out while the Baron's going down, so they want to kill first if at all possible. Going to sit in a pink warded brush and try for this one. Jelly! Oh man, those cocoons from Tucson have not been on point this game. And there we go, he's going to get onto Expression the back line. Cube has to run away. There's the Gangplank ultimate, and here comes some kegs. Doesn't actually chain them together to hit that final shot. And Ignar getting a little bit low. Kyle on the flank right now. Tucson has to flash out to avoid dying, and can they finish off the kill onto the Jace Expression? 1v4ing effectively right now. And there we go, Frozen. The jump forward doesn't hit the Crescent Strike, and there is the gate to get a little bit faster. Kyle going to get out of this one eventually, or not. Flash comes through.
That time the fadeaway worked, but that was really poor team fighting from Longzhu. And remember, they were 10,000 gold ahead, but their target selection, their grouping, everything about that team fight was desperately poor. We're going to see a replay, I imagine, at some point, but I guess with such a low kill fight, maybe we don't even bother, as they just didn't commit on a singular target, but they are going to commit now. They're drawing a teleport. It seems to be Baron time.
It is Baron time. Expression is there. They're going to burn it down very quickly, and we have Frozen TPing in from the base, and this is a play they could have been making quite a long time ago. Gonna make it now. Ignar going through, just denying any kind of possible smite steal, and that's the right play. Ignar will get the Baron buff with the help of his team, and now we can actually start moving into an even more dangerous 1-3-1 split.
I think you just force the 5v5 grouping and then just hit an Ashe Arrow on anyone. Look at the item timings coming through from IM. Infinity Edge, try forcing the cooldown reduction boots on Expression, 3 items on Ashe. It's definitely team fight time. They've been tuned for it. They went for it with their first buy, if we're talking about Frozen and the Zhonyas. You just want to force a fight right now because the lead is oppressive. It's 11,000 gold at 27 minutes.
Gangplank not going to pick up any more big-ticket items at the moment and trying to control these side minion waves right now, but Cube threatening a tier 1 at the very least. No one in the top lane to deal with him at the moment, and IM just doesn't have the pressure to really answer this right now, so it looks like they will give up one of their tier 1s. In fact, their first tier 1 of the game.
Not quite perfect game because we are seeing the second dragon actually coming through. It was only this first dragon, of course, was taken by the Dark Wolves, but maybe we're getting a window into why we haven't seen much of that, Jace, because specifically if you miss those timings, whether it's pushing or just really getting your items early, 0, 5, and 3, this Jace just never going to be relevant on the damage front.
That is too bad because of, if you guys want to see some impressive Jace plays, and they really are mechanically impressive, you can look up Nara Kyle's Jace highlight videos. You can see just how good this guy is, but hasn't had a chance to show it this game. And now LZIM looking to hit that arrow. They get Shelly, but is there going to be enough follow-up? The answer is yes. Frozen gets right in there. Tucson just tanking out that turret as best as he can. Going to use his repel to get out of it, and Tucson still going back in. Cube will pick up a kill on that one. Ignar low, but Expression here. Expression looking for a little bit more. Can he chain the kegs together fast enough? Nope, just going to flash parlay. Why not?
Yeah, we've got a really big crit onto Kai. There's a 1,200 damage from the keg link. Then there's the flash parlay is enough, and this should be the game for Longzhu IM.
Should be indeed. They're pushing forward. Still have that Baron buff. Cube trying desperately to delay, but there's another 900 damage onto the Hecarim, and here comes Expression. Cube's pretty fast though, but it's not going to happen before the Nexus explodes, and that'll be game 1 to Longzhu. Incredible miracle.
Finally a return of carry top lane from Expression. The carry top lane from years ago gets the gangplank on 5:15. Everyone knows how scary that is, whether it's SOAS, whether it's GBM, and now it's Expression. The damage in the late game is insane.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. And what do you do with your Dark Wolves now? Because I think you have to ban Fiora and you have to ban GP just so Expression doesn't get them, but that opens up a lot of other picks. You know, for me, Ignar was really the standout player of this game, though, set up a lot of those great engages.
And then it's the headbutt away from the Baron. It was actually looking like a 50-50 Baron steal potential, but the headbutt did a lot of work. The worry for Dark Wolves, comfort in the mid lane. Now Kyle on Jace. Cube loves that.